first time doing this. I see there's like some messages on Google saying learn more. It's too late. It's too late, Google, to learn any more. We just have to do it. Like a typical Joburger, I'm 5 minutes early. It's one of the things. Once I've moved to Cape Town, I find everybody's like 5 minutes late. But in Joburg, everybody was 5 minutes early. So yeah, it means I'm now normally at places 10 minutes before anybody else in Cape Town, but we'll see. We are live, and well, that was the thing. I was actually planning on using everyone's questions and comments. Oh no, wait, we have someone is online. We've got our first message, and it's hello. So hello, how are you? You guys are more than welcome to ask a whole bunch of various questions around actuarial science. I'm going to do my best to answer them. And we got another one from Paul Johnson saying, "What's up, MJ? Everything is good." Oh, geez, that's pretty cool. Someone sent me like 99 US dollar cents. That is very, very cool. Okay, we're getting to the questions. First of all, thank you so much for that super chat. I just enabled it, so I don't know what these things do, but let's actually get into it. I want to click if there's a way for me to see the comments. Otherwise, they're just going to like pop up and then disappear. The first question has been on how did I pass CT1? And it's crazy because I'm busy actually teaching CT1 now. So I'm prepping, and I'm going to be doing a 7-week Zoom call session because now with coronavirus, we've had to move the workshops to become virtual. And it's quite interesting going through the material to see, how bad was it? And looking back now, it is incredibly easy. But when I was at university, it was hard. Like, I remember looking at this stuff and being like, damn, how am I going to pass this test? And I barely passed. I think, what was my mark? It was like a low 60, which was crazy for me. I came from, school where I was getting 90s for everything. And here I'm getting like 60 for the subject that I'm majoring in. So it was quite difficult. Our lecturer at VIT he was quite, I don't want to say mean, but he definitely threw in some challenging curveball questions, which you don't necessarily see when you do the exams through the actuarial profession. So when you do it, when you write the paper outside of university, it tends to be a lot easier. But yeah, at VIT, we did get some curveball questions. But what I do want to do, I just want to check to see how I can see the comments on these videos. Oh wait, I got one. What will be more career rewarding, specializing in finance or life insurance? This is actually, it's a question that I get quite a lot, is people say, should I do this or should I do that? And at the end of the day, it depends very much on what you want to do. So my advice is always research the different roles, see what you like about each. And I mean, generally as actuaries, we've got quite a broad range of things that interest us. And I've seen quite a lot of my colleagues, they tend to like lots of things. And a lot of them actually wanted to do medicine. And for them, they go into health insurance, which is great. For those of them who wanted to maybe do, BCom accounting or go into investing or CFA, then majoring in finance makes sense. And then I guess if you want the pure form of actuarial science, then that is life insurance, because the studying of mortality is the traditional role that the actuary plays. Of course, we're branching out and we're in a whole bunch of weird and wonderful things now. So it is exciting to go into those crazy places, but from a job security point of view, I mean, the regulators say that you need an actuary to sign off on life reserves. So if you just want to stick more to the traditional role, I would say life insurance over something like finance. I do want to see, how do I get all of these messages? I should have figured this out. How do I see the messages? They might be coming through on the other one. Hold on, if I go live chat. Okay, no, wait, I've got it. Woo! I have figured out how to do it. Okay. Oh gosh, there are a lot of questions. We did, how did you pass CT1? So yeah, pass it with great difficulty. Hi, is the job market for actuaries getting harder after the pandemic? In fact, I would say it is the opposite. The pandemic, what it has done, it's caused a shockwave in the economy. It's shown people how important risk management is. So, if anything, the coronavirus has increased the demand for actuaries because why? There's a lot more uncertainty in the world that needs to be managed, and that is what actuaries thrive on. We're very good at dealing with financial chaos and the uncertainties around it. So, if anything, coronavirus is going to increase the demand for actuaries. I mean, I haven't been looking at the actual statistics of the job market in actuarial science, but I do get emails from the Actuarial Society of South Africa regarding new jobs. And there have been quite a few popping up recently. So, yeah, don't be disheartened about the pandemic. I mean, it's going to hurt. I mean, it's devastating areas like tourism and those sectors. But when it comes to risk management, the coronavirus is going to increase it a lot. I mean, I was creating a course on enterprise risk management, and I actually had to go through it again and just add in all the areas about how, you know what, with the pandemic, now we can also do this, and that. And with the pandemic, this, and that. We can actually add in a couple of other steps. Got someone saying hello from Senegal. That is awesome. I don't think I have many subscribers from Senegal, so that is very, very cool. Do you watch World's Strongest Man, and do you think Eddie Hall would beat Thor in a boxing match? The answer to that question is I don't know. And I've got a feeling that's going to be the answer to a lot of my, a lot of the answers are going to be I don't know. In your opinion, which job is more secure from big data and automation stuff? I guess life and cat is the best. I mean, this is the thing. And I made a video about it when coronavirus kind of first hit, is coronavirus has proven that, or I shouldn't say proven, that's the wrong word to use. Coronavirus has been a hurdle or an obstacle for automation, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, because you can imagine, here's the machine that's only looking at the numbers, and suddenly the numbers just start changing drastically. You know, the program hasn't been told what a pandemic is. In fact, a lot of us didn't even know what a pandemic was. I think the last big one that hit the world was before any of us were born. So automation, machine learning, and artificial intelligence took a big smack, and the whole belief that they're going to be replacing our jobs, I think, has to be revised. Where these things help is they help us with the boring parts of our work. So some of the boring things that you have to do as an actuary is monitor the situation. The fun part is developing the solution, you know, and building the models and doing all this cool decision making. And then the boring part is monitoring it, looking at reports, allowing for that feedback. And this is stuff that automation and machine learning can add to, and can actually ease and make your job a lot more enjoyable. So don't be scared that machine learning or artificial intelligence is going to replace an actuary. I don't think that's going to be the case in the next couple of years. If anything, they're going to be tools to help us do our job a lot better. Let me just come back in to see some more of the messages. This is a nice one. What are other career opportunities for actuarial graduates who do not want to continue with the exams? And this is, it's a lovely question because the answer is very broad. I mean, if you go to a job, like any kind of job interview, and you tell people, look, I've got an actuarial science degree, what you're communicating to that potential employer is that you know how to think and you've done some really hardcore quantitative work. And that means no matter if it's, you know, credit risk or it's banking, it can even be outside of the whole financial realm. What you've done is you've shown or you've demonstrated by getting that actuarial science degree that you know how to think. And that is so valuable in the workplace. So you don't have to continue with the actuarial exams. You don't have to continue in the whole financial sector. Once you get that actuarial science degree, you can go into a whole bunch of other areas. And it's something which I really appreciate about actuarial science is that it teaches you to think in a slightly different way. It you know, makes your thought pattern focus a lot on uncertainty, whereas generally we like to round up probabilities to 1 or round them down to, you know, 0, or we, you know, have rules of thumbs and these kind of things, which for most of the time is fine, but when accuracy is of importance, they can get us into a lot of trouble. And actuarial science helps you hone in on uncertainty and be comfortable with chance and probability. And I think that's going to be very valuable in all forms of industry. So whether it's mining, even tourism now, I mean, risk management in tourism is huge. So actuaries can play in other spaces, or actuarial graduates, they can move on to other areas. And that's why we very much encourage it. There's this whole idea of the actuarial wider fields. And the idea behind that is that actuaries are encouraged to work in other areas. I remember when I did my SERA, so that's the Chartered Enterprise Risk Analyst course, there was a guy called Actuary in a Hard Hat, and he's gone into infrastructure and building buildings. What is that? I think it's called infrastructure or something like that. So there are other areas that you can get into if you're like, because I mean, some people, they look at mortality tables and they're like, this is boring. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And if that is you, don't be disheartened. You can use your degree to get into a whole bunch of other areas. Let me pop up another, let's look at some of the other questions. How much does one need to open an insurance company? It's a good question. It depends very much on the country that you're in. Different countries will have different regulations. Some regulations are quite friendly, others are not. And this is why we will tend to see a lot of insurance companies tend to, or specifically reinsurance companies, they'll start up in like weird places like Bermuda, which is this little island in like the middle of nowhere. And they set up in these places because the regulation is friendly towards it. And what you want with your regulation is you want it to be fair, you want it to prevent ruin, but you also want it to allow for innovation and allow for new competitors to come in. Some of the time, some companies or some countries have regulations that are very, very strict, and they require, extensive capital before you can start operating as an insurer. However, that said, if you do have a good insurance idea, and this is a space where a lot of innovation and entrepreneurs are coming to the market, you can always hop on board and use another company's license. And there's a company called Guardrisk here in South Africa that creates these things called cell captives. And what they do is they basically allow for you to sell your own type of insurance while using their license. And it's a little bit of a regulatory loophole. And actually, before the whole coronavirus happened, I was trying to set up a meeting with them in Joburg to go and chat about, because I've got some crazy ideas of my own. Wanted to go and chat to them about it, but of course the virus happened, and then things got a little bit crazy. Quite a lot of job opportunities popped up that then required my immediate attention, and I had to put like the crazy entrepreneurial ideas on hold. But if you do have a good insurance idea, it might be worth looking at creating a captive and leeching off another license rather than trying to set up your own, specifically in the beginning. I mean, with business, I like that whole idea called the minimum viable product, or fail fast. So try get your product to market as quickly as possible. Use somebody else's license. If it's working, if it's profitable, then maybe look at creating your very own insurance company from the ground up. Let's check some of the more of the questions. How can I prepare for CM1 exam? The CT5 part is very confusing. I must say that's one thing I do not like about this reshuffle of the syllabus is, unfortunately, here in South Africa, we have resisted it, and we've stayed with CT1 and CT5 as two separate subjects, where the new syllabus seems to have combined those two together, which I think is a bit of a horrible idea. It makes it quite confusing. I mean, CT5 on its own was a challenging subject. Now to add CT1 to that as well, so that's financial mathematics and life contingencies that they've kind of joined together, and it is a tricky one. I have not looked at that I haven't looked at that syllabus in detail to be able to give you guys a good answer yet, because like I say, in South Africa we are still doing it the old-fashioned way, which I think is a lot better for the students. I mean, if you're going to change the syllabus, by all means, that's all right, but then do a complete overhaul, start from the ground up. I kind of feel that they took the subjects and they try to awkwardly remove one section, and then they put it here, and then they took this subject and they try to squeeze it here. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of these new exam setups, but maybe that's because I'm biased towards the ones that I wrote, which weren't perfect either, because it was quite confusing on, they would have numbered CT1 to CT8, but it was like you do CT7 first, and then CT2, and then CT1, then CT3. So the order wasn't chronological like how the numbering was. Let's get some more of the questions coming up. How are job opportunities in Cape Town versus Joburg for jobs in the financial sector? It's getting better. It's getting better, but I remember my lecturer told me that it was career suicide to move to Cape Town. He told me, because what happened is I had quite a bad armed robbery in my house in Joburg. So I was kind of like over Joburg. I was just like, I need to get out of this place. It's not working for me, and absolutely fell in love with Cape Town. And the robbery happened while I was at Wits, and I couldn't just go to UCT because the two courses are a little bit different. But the Wits lecturer he'd used to help us like find our jobs when you're at Wits. And he was like, okay, Michael, what company do you want to work for? What are your strengths? What are this? And I said, I want to work in Cape Town. And he was very upset with that answer, very upset. He's like, there's no jobs in Cape Town. Cape Town's most well known for Old Mutual and Sanlam. So those are the two big life insurers. And there are some financial companies. I mean, Alan Gray's here, Coronation's here, and a couple of boutique hedge funds. There's also all the banks also here. So it's not like there's no jobs in Cape Town, but there's definitely a lot more in Sandton. So, but I mean, yeah, it's probably, I do know of people who've left Cape Town to go up to Joburg to find work, specifically in like around the BCom area. Like I say, as an actuary, you'll get snapped up quite easily by Old Mutual and that if you're looking at those areas. But yeah, the general trend is that Joburg more jobs than Cape Town. But now with coronavirus and everybody working virtually, I think times are definitely going to be changing. I want to see the next question. Overseas job opportunities for actuaries. Someone says talking about Steve. Yes, Kelly. Yes. Yeah. Steve wasn't very happy that I moved to Cape Town. Overseas job opportunities for actuaries. Overseas is a big place. Some countries, like let's say England and Ireland and those places that recognize an actuary as a full profession and there's a lot of respect around it, very easy to find a job there. London's also very much like a financial capital of like the world, so very, very easy there. Europe, I don't know enough about the European actuarial scene. I wouldn't know. And then what I have heard is quite a lot of people get jobs in Singapore and Hong Kong from South Africa, so they'll move to those places. Again, they are financial hubs. I've had people move to Bermuda, that crazy little island I was telling you about earlier that does the reinsurance. So there are job opportunities overseas. Of course, with America, you've got to get a green card, and there's all those kind of restrictions, which I'm not too clued up on. But yeah, I think this is the lovely thing about actuarial science is financial risk or financial uncertainty is universal. It's everywhere. So no matter where you go, you can add value. It's not like, let's say, South African law, which is based on the Roman Dutch system, where I think only us and like Indonesia kind of really use that system. So if you're a lawyer and you try to look for a job overseas, you've got to rewrite your exams, you've got to do a lot more studying. Actuarial science, not so much. So if you are thinking of immigrating, actuarial science is going to put you in a better position than like something like law, which is very much dependent on the local rules and legislation of a country. Let me check out another question. Hello from India. Hey MJ, thanks Mil bro. I'm currently doing CFA and FRM and plan to take a few tests of Actuary. How different is FRM from Actuary? So FRM stands for Financial Risk Management, and actuarial science, you can almost think of it as underwriting risk management. And what we refer to as the underwriting risks is mortality, so that's life insurance, morbidity, which is health insurance, and then like general insurance, which is kind of like everything else, car insurance, business insurance, and all these kind of things. So actuaries focus primarily on underwriting risks. Of course, I'm a little bit different. I specialized in finance and enterprise risk management. So in finance, we cover a lot of market risk, investment risk, credit risk, and then in enterprise risk management, you also cover operational risk as well. Where with FRM, you're going to be focusing primarily on financial risk management and the financial side, so the market and those type of things. So it's a more focused version, but that's something that actuaries kind of pride ourselves on, is we try to rather have the view of the forest rather than some of these other things which are very much, an understanding of the tree. So we tend to have more of a top-down view, where some of these other ones are more of a bottom-up view. And that makes the amount of stuff that you need to learn for actuarial science a lot. There's definitely a lot that you have to learn for actuarial science, because we're trying to understand everything, and we try have this view that risk is interlinked, and there's correlation and there's systemic risk. So you have to look at everything at the same time, which, like I said, makes it a lot. Where with financial risk management, you're kind of like specializing on one certain thing, which is interesting, because when you get a job, it's more likely that they will, depending on the organization you work at, like the bigger organization, the more specialized you're going to be on, just like you could even be on like a certain type of market risk. So like, let's say interest rate risk, that could be your entire job, in which case you don't necessarily have to learn about all the other risks. But if you're working for a small organization or an actuarial consultant, and you need to be flexible and understand all the different types of risks so that you can help out in all these different ways, then that's where the actuarial science will be a little bit more valuable. Let's get back to these questions. So I'm using the phone, so I have to like touch it every single time I get this. I'm from Nigeria, but I intend doing my master's in actuarial science in South Africa. Will I get exemptions from some of the IFOA exams from the papers passed? I don't know. I know that there is an agreement between the IFOA, this is the Actuarial Society in England, and ASA, which is the society here in South Africa. And essentially, the two of them, there is they do talk to each other. So as a fellow of the Actuarial Society of South Africa, I can go and apply, and I can become a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. So I can do that. So once you graduate or become a fellow in the one, you can transfer to the other. Whether you can do some exams with South Africa and some exams in England and try to bring the two together, I don't think you can do that. I don't think they allow for that, because it's just like an administrative burden for them. That might change in the future, and I might be wrong about that. So send people who work at those organizations emails for a better response. But I think the answer is no. You can only transfer once you hit the fellowship or associate status. Top chat. Is doing a master's in actuarial science worth it in terms of career growth, or does it not really matter once you've qualified? It's interesting. So I'm looking at like applying for maybe a job at UCT next year, so as a lecturer. And there, one of the requirements are that you have to have your master's in order to get the senior lecturer position. So I've always said, you don't need the master's degree, because, with the fellowship levels and all these other things, those are more important. So it's more important to get exemptions and all these other things. And I still think that's the case, except if you want to work in academics. Then having a master's, having a PhD is still seen as having a good thing to have. And I guess the fellowship, the criteria was that you're a qualified actuary and you have your master's degree. Whereas I think in other working environments, if you have your fellowship degree, your fellowship designation, they're going to be more than happy with it. So the master's, I think, is only worthwhile in academia, in actuarial science. If you're doing something else, or if you're not getting into a profession, then definitely getting a master's is going to help you with your job prospects. Let's come back to the question. Sorry, guys, I'm skipping a lot of your ones, so feel free, if I haven't answered it, just to copy and paste it again, because like I said, there's quite a few popping up, and I'm just looking. I want to see, let me go. The quants versus actuary salary. I mean, I don't know I don't know that much about the quants salaries at the moment. But it very much will, gosh, I guess a general, like, yeah, I get quite a few questions about salaries, and I remember my first actuarial salary was very low. In fact, I'll tell you how low it was. Look, I was desperate because you can imagine I've come from Wits. My lecturer told me it's career suicide, and I wanted to get my 3 years done so that I can become a fellow actuary. So I was prepared to work for nothing, in order to get my first job, to just try to get those years of experience. So, and I think they read that in the negotiations room. So I got paid a monthly salary that was so low that now, as a fellow actuary, I make that in a single day. So you can see that there's definitely, the salary you earn depends very much on how well you're able to negotiate. Of course, it's supply and demand. And the more specialized and, the more better you make yourself, that means that the amount of competitors that you're competing against reduces. So the supply of people like you decreases. And if that demand's still up, then you can ask for a much higher salary. And that is going to depend on location and all these other things. So comparing a quant salary to an actuary salary, it's a difficult thing to do because you're comparing literally apples with oranges. But at the end of the day, the more better you can make your CV, so the more experience you have, the more designations, the more professions you're part of, the more cool projects you've done, the more desirable you make yourself, the higher your salary is going to be. And at the end of the day, both quants and actuaries are going to make more than enough money in their life. So I wouldn't use that as the determinant on what to study. Rather look at what your passion is and what you want to do and chase that rather than the money. Because like I say, actuary, quant, the money you make, you can invest it in the stock market and you can push it up, another big chunk. So don't worry too much about the salary that you're earning, because like I say, by investing it yourself, you'll make whatever difference or whatever money that you still need in life, you'll be able to get it back. Let me see, getting some more messages. Once we become a qualified actuary, is it possible to move to finance domain abroad from life insurance where I'm currently working? So what I've heard is that you can move around within the actuarial industry. I know a lot of the jobs say, oh, you need 3 years experience in this short-term industry, and they very narrow it down. But what I found in some of these job requirements is they're looking for what we call the unicorn. They're trying to find the perfect candidate. And if they can't find them, then they will look at, a much wider range of people. So if you've got 3 years of experience in life insurance and you're applying for a financial job that requires 3 years in finance, they might still consider it because there is some similarities, there is some overlap. So yes, to answer your question, you can definitely move across from life insurance to finance at a later stage. In fact, it's easier to move from life insurance to finance than I would actually say the other way around. It's harder to move from finance to life insurance because life insurance has got so much more regulations that are catered around actuarial science. Whereas finance, you don't have to be an actuary to play around in finance, but you need to be an actuary to sign off on the reserves of a life insurer. Let's look. Guys, I'm getting a lot of messages and I am missing a lot of them. So please copy and paste your message again if I have missed it, because I do want to answer all of them. Do you reckon starting your career in the credit risk model automation space inside a bank is beneficial towards the actuarial career? I think it's a good career move. It's definitely, credit is one of the oldest things. You read about it in the Bible, people, lending money to each other and this kind of thing. So, and I think lending is one of the great financial innovations of humanity, the ability to borrow from the future in order to get things done today. So I'm very excited by credit risk. I love credit risk. It is an amazing place to be in. And fortunately, the things I studied in actuarial science did give me some exposure to some of the credit risk models and those type of things. So it's a beautiful space. Whether it's good for an actuarial career, like I say, it depends on what you define as actuarial. If we're talking traditional actuarial, like life insurance, like I say, they tend to want to find people with experience in those spaces. If they can't find it, they will then look to the rest. But if you want to have a traditional actuarial role, maybe look at getting a traditional role to start up with. But it's so difficult to say because, your tastes change as you get older. You want to try different things. Interestingly enough, about the credit insurance is, and this is what's his name? Was it the Robert Yarrow, the Robert Yarrow model? I think that's the name of the model. It was the Yarrow Turnbull model, and what they basically do is they use the idea of life insurance with credit risk. So they say, just how a person has a lifespan and then they die, they say, well, credit risk, it's a loan and there's a possibility that the loan dies if somebody doesn't repay it. And they were able to use mortality calculations and a mortality model to measure credit risk. So there's definitely some nice overlap. So yeah, it's like I said, so I'm not giving the best answer to this question, but I think they'll definitely appreciate that experience. So you can go from credit risk to life insurance. I don't think it'll be the biggest issue, but if you want to have the traditional role, of course, try look for traditional jobs first, but you can do that little bit of that overlap. Let me see, I've got some more messages. Actuary versus general BCom, are there any similarities in the course? I'm not sure I'm being an actuary, but want to go into commerce. Which degree is more beneficial and what are the major differences? So, I mean, it's difficult to say because your BCom, it's more on, well, this is the thing. When it comes to the financial service, what are we all trying to do? We're all trying to manage financial uncertainties, okay? So manage financial uncertainties, or you can think of it as ordering financial chaos. Actuarial science, specifically at the undergraduate level, focuses on the chaos, focuses on the uncertainty, focuses on the statistics and mathematical models. Whereas your BCom focuses more on the management, the ordering, and those kind of things. When you study actuarial science, specifically in your honors year or when you write your exams later on, you definitely have to expose yourself to the managing side of it. But, and this is just my opinion, the managing side I found is a lot easier to understand than trying to understand the chaos and the uncertainty. So I would say study actuarial science at university because this is when you're dedicating time to studying. This is when you're putting in your best foot forward. Study the hard stuff first, and then hopefully you haven't become disheartened or discouraged from, because it is going to be heavy. And then once you have that understanding, you'll understand the management side of finance a lot better. Whereas, let's say someone like my brother, who's a BCom chartered accountant, absolutely amazing at managing the managing side. I mean, he is a brilliant auditor. He does amazing works, and he does it around the financial funds and stuff like that. Absolutely legend at that. But when it comes to the mathematics and the uncertainty and all of that, he's like, he's like, I leave that to the actuaries. He says, I get my actuaries to come in, they work for him, they sort that type of stuff out. He doesn't want to handle them. And that might be you. So if you want to focus more on the management side of business or of finance, BCom. If you're happy to explore the chaos and the uncertainty, then actuarial science. But in general, you do need to have exposure to both. And that's why if you want to be the best businessman out there, I would say actuarial science, focus your energy on the crazy chaos. And then when you're writing your fellowship exams or a little bit later on in life, when you're married, you've got kids running around in a job, then you can do the easier side of management. Of course, that's me. I found management easier than understanding the uncertainty. Other people might find it a little bit other way around. Oh yeah, what made you want to start a YouTube channel and Udemy courses? How did you get popular? How does it help you within your job or clients? So I wouldn't necessarily say I'm popular. I mean, yeah, this is the thing. It's the YouTube numbers are definitely deceiving. I mean, you see something like, oh, you've got 20,000 subscribers. I'm well aware that probably half of those subscribers are like deactivated accounts, and the other 5,000 probably like clicked on it by mistake. So I think the subscriber number is very much a vanity, or it's puffed up. It's puffed up. So yeah, so that's with regards to the popularity things. Although there have been like weird instances when people are like, hey, aren't you MJ the fellow actuary? And then I'm like, yay. So there have been instances like that. With regards to clients, it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because it's so nice to show a client, it's one thing saying on your profile, your LinkedIn profile, I can do capital modeling. It's another thing to point them to a video where you've gone through the various steps of capital modeling. You've shown how you handle, the diversification benefit and how you got it to the 99.5%. So it's a lot easier to win clients by demonstrating what you know rather than just saying, I know this. So from a client acquisition point of view, it's been beautiful. Like I say, I'm applying now for this UCT job, and I do quite a bit of educational work outside of YouTube. So to point and say, hey guys, I've done all of these videos in the past, they can look at it, they can be like, okay, he doesn't have the best video editing skills, but he seems enthusiastic enough. So it definitely has helped win clients. But as for what caused me to start YouTube, it was actually because I was struggling. I was really, really suffering with the workload of CA1, which was Actuarial Risk Management, because there was just so much work. So I actually made a whole bunch of videos on CA1, and it was kind of like, let me put them on the internet so that I can watch them while I eat. So I would be eating and watching myself studying. I know that's like a weird thing. I know I'm crazy, but this is what I would do. I would eat and watch myself study or revise, going through, this is what a professional is. Or, I think there was something about, I still remember the one acronym, it was like Caterpillar. When investing in foreign countries, you got to go through this acronym of Caterpillar, like C is the different currencies, A is the, I have forgotten it by now, but I remember the Caterpillar thing. So I use YouTube as very much a study tool for myself. And then, of course, I think I woke up the one day, it was a week after having it, and I had like 60 subscribers and a comment, and I was like, oh, wow, this is quite cool. And then I started creating more content for the subscribers. I was still, back then it was MJ, the student actually, because I was still writing these exams, so I still had videos to make. And that's kind of what got me into it. Although I was very, this is one thing, I read about some YouTubers, how they get very much, their schedule of can sometimes own them. And because this is the thing, they say with YouTube, you should post regularly. I don't post regularly. They say you should, stick to a certain topic. I talk about Bitcoin this week, and then we're talking about arts another week. So I am a little bit all over the place. And for me, I wanted my YouTube not to be necessarily a business. I wanted it to be just something fun. And that's where Udemy comes in, because Udemy, I want Udemy to be more of a business. So there it'll be a lot more serious. There it's, the content is a lot more tailored. It's a lot more up to date. It's a lot cleaner and stuff like that. So I want YouTube to be for fun, and then Udemy is more of the business side of the educational space. Let me just see, I'm getting some more messages in here. Hi, I've just graduated with my bachelor's in applied stats and analytics, and also finishing up my actuarial exams side by side. Would an MBA in finance be an added advantage after 2 years of work experience? My personal opinion is that the MBA, I mean, what is an MBA? It's all that information that you learn in an MBA, you can get in a textbook. I mean, there's even a book I read called, didn't read it, looked at the first page. It looked quite interesting. It was called MBA for Dummies, and it had like all the different stuff that you would learn in it. So my opinion, when it comes to an MBA, unless if you're doing it at Harvard or Yale or, at some really big name university, then it's worth getting. Not because of the knowledge that you're getting from it, but from the networking and the people you meet. I mean, if you do an MBA at Harvard, your classmates, those are business connections that are going to repay for that MBA tenfold. So if you can get into that course, by all means. But getting an MBA at any other institution, or it's kind of like rather save yourself the money and buy a book. Look, that is just my opinion. I know people have worked very hard to get their MBAs, and outside of actuarial science, it can help them, to get different jobs. You can say, hey, I've got an MBA and all these kind of things. But when it comes to actuarial science, like I say, unless you're getting your MBA from Harvard, I wouldn't bother with it. Unless if you're going to be doing other things, then the MBA maybe has place. But let me maybe just put a little disclaimer. I don't know that much about MBAs, so take what I say with a with a large pinch of salt, Have you found any bias towards a specific university when applying for jobs? Like, I mean, in general, I guess that comes back to the whole, what we were saying about the MBA and Harvard. If you say you went to Harvard, you'll probably get favored in the job interview than people who went to other universities. And it's not that the Harvard education is necessarily better than the others. It's because the requirement to get into Harvard is so much harder. So just to say, I got into Harvard, what you're basically telling the employer is that this huge, well-known institution has already validated my skills and myself as a human, and therefore hiring me is a much lower risk than hiring somebody from another university. So in that instance, university is, the brand is quite powerful, but you are still kind of going to be learning very much the same thing. I mean, we have the internet. You can get all the Harvard lectures for free on iTunes University. So knowledge today is becoming a lot more accessible. Of course, there still is this brand attachment to certain universities. So, of course, in South Africa, there are some top universities. I mean, the ones that come to mind are like UCT, Wits, Stellenbosch, and then, you know, there's still a whole bunch of other ones that are also very, very well known. So, yeah, if you can afford it, go to the best university that you possibly can. Just it'll make your life, yeah, a little bit easier in getting a job. I do see a question here. Hi, I'll obtain a BSc in Applied Stats and Ecos, and I'll also have exemptions for CT2 and Ecos. Would I be better off studying AXI from start, or do Applied Stats honors, then writing exams while working? I would go, listen, like just a very general piece of advice. And that's the thing, I mean, normally when it comes to giving proper career advice or proper education advice, the best thing to do is to sit down with you guys one by one and say, hey, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you want out of life? What are you afraid of? What do you want to achieve? Go through this whole process. And there's actually a company that I'm working with to do just that. They call Protagon. And I'll put a link in the description below where you can actually like rent me out or schedule a call with me that's just one-on-one for 1 whole hour, where we just sit down and we discuss your career and, you know, give proper advice. When it comes to these YouTube comments, of course, I have to give something very generic and very much across the board because I don't know your whole story. But the general rule is go for the course or go for the path that will get you into the fellowship designation as quickly as possible. So with regards to your question, I would rather go and study the actuarial science exams and write those and get your path to fellowship. Getting your honors in applied statistics, if it's not contributing to an exemption, why are you doing it? Yes, it's useful. Yes, it's beneficial, but it's not the fastest route to getting to where you want to go if your goal is to become an actuary. So in your situation, if you want to become an actuary and you want to achieve it in the shortest route possible, then that's what I would recommend is don't worry about doing honors and anything else. Focus on things that give you exemptions and writing the exam papers. Have you done any internships during your studies at uni or Wits? I didn't do any internships. I know it seems like quite a big thing. Like I remember when I was working in my first year, we had, you know, we got all like the interns coming in, and I felt so bad because I kind of took my holiday. I needed my holiday after Wits. I mean, those little periods that they give you, I needed that holiday to sleep, to catch up on FIFA, and just to chill. But yes, I am aware that people do internships. It does look good on your CV. It probably is worth doing. I just didn't have the energy for it. So I didn't do any internships because actuarial science took it out of me. Like that was the thing. I came from school where I was like, yeah, I'm the smartest. And then I realized I'm not the smartest. I have to work very, very hard. And this comes up with, Sam's asking, your typical day as an AXI student. There was no social life. It was study hours and classes. I mean, what I was trying to do, and of course, I think the best I once did was like 10 hours of studying in a day. and that was bad because it really tires you out for the next day. But I would try and get 8 hours of studying done. And that's quite a difficult thing to do. Now, this is 8 hours of pure studying. So it's not saying, okay, I'm going to spend, from 1 to 5 to study, and then every 5 minutes I'll check my phone. No, I used to, like, we had Mix It, I think called, Mix It in Matric. And I would delete that for, like, when it came to exams. I took my exams quite seriously. So I would delete social media when it came to exam period. So WhatsApp, did we have what? No, we had a thing called BBM. Gosh, look how old I am. This BlackBerry thing. I would delete that. Like when the exams came up, you put social media away. And that's the thing, is actuarial science, look, it's different for different people. For your average person like me, you want to, this is the thing, you go to university to get a degree. You don't go to university to have fun. And I think that's something that movies and our culture has kind of shown to be the other way. People are like, oh, university, best years of my life. That's where I make all my best friends. That's where I meet my wife or my husband. No, not if you're an actuarial science student. You're going there to work. You're either in the library, you're in class, or you're making your own revision notes. Social life, I mean, maybe once a month you can go out and see some friends, and maybe once a week you can watch a movie. But generally, you do want to be disciplined and make sure that you're on top of your work. It's a hard message to hear, but trust me, I always believe in this philosophy of short-term pain is followed by long-term gain. And that's what your university time has to be. It has to be that short-term pain. And now, once you're outside of university, like I look at it, my life is so much better, so much less stress than it was at university. And I am reaping a lot of the benefits of that. So take it from me, work very, very hard while you're at university. And then after you've done university, after you've done the fellowship, then life gets a lot more enjoyable. Let's check some more messages. Would you recommend prospective students to study Actuary or to go into another field? I mean, I'm completely biased, so of course I'm going to say actuarial science. I love this thing. But I must say, I do ask myself, I'm like, if I had to go back in time, would I study it again? And knowing the crucible, the fire of actuarial science, it's a difficult journey. So you got to really get ready for it, and it's hard because you make a lot of friends. In first year, they start dropping out, and they keep telling you, "Oh, life's so much better now that they've dropped out," and it's hard. It really, really is hard. So if you've got the willpower and you've got the passion, of course, go for actuarial science. It's an absolutely amazing degree, but if you do want to go to university for fun, then look for another degree. Okay, there are quite a lot of messages coming in. Let me check this one. Hi, MJ. I am a third-year student at WITS, and I'm finding the R component of the statistic course quite challenging, and I spent countless hours trying to understand the code. What would you recommend? Look, I mean, coding has always been like a passion of mine. It was my highest subject at Matric. I did very well at IT. Like IT, it just, I don't know, there's a lot of fun in programming. I really, really enjoy it. But then I came to R, and R is not the most user-friendly software environment. It's weird. There's a lot. JavaScript is a lot nicer and stuff like that. And even Python is better than R. But if you're struggling with R, maybe try, I know they recommend R Studio, maybe try a different one. So there's the Jupyter Notebooks. I think there's also something called Spider something. Try one of those different environments to see if that will help you a little bit better. And then the other thing that really helped me with programming was give yourself a project. So something that you actually want to do, and then say, okay, I want to do this. Now I need to figure out how to do that. And now you've got this motivation to learn, rather than just saying, okay, R, let's learn data frames, yay. Give yourself a task or a project, and that's going to help you with programming. But like I said, for me, it is a passion. It is something I love. Whereas I do know other people, like let's say my brother, who's an accountant. I don't think he's programmed anything. No, he does program in Excel. He's a beast in Excel, but I don't think I've seen him try program anything else. And it is something that can be a little bit challenging. I remember I did struggle a little bit with R at university because it's just a different format. But I guess practice, give yourself projects, and there's a lot of good. I haven't put that many tutorials on my channel because there's just so many others out there. So search for them and you'll find them. And yeah, but definitely focus on R because it is going to be a big component going forward and in the future. There's that saying. In the future, there's going to be those of us who tell machines what to do and those of us who get told by machines on what to do. So if you're on R, then you're controlling the machines. If you don't know a programming language, then the machine is going to kind of control you. That's a quote I heard in some computer science lecture somewhere. Let's check it out. UCT versus Wits versus Stellies, does it really matter where you study? I mean, I say this very tongue-in-cheek, very, very tongue-in-cheek, but if you want to study actuarial science, you go to Wits, okay? And the reason why you go to Wits is because Cape Town has too many distractions. We've got Table Mountain, we've got the beaches, we've got the Newlands Forest. It's such a beautiful place. It's not a place you come to study. It's a place you come to enjoy and to live. Whereas Wits, we call it the concrete jungle. It's like in the middle of the city. There's nothing but libraries at Wits. Look, like I say, I'm saying this very tongue-in-cheek, but Wits is definitely what I would recommend. But having said that, I'm like applying for a job at UCT to maybe do a little bit of work there next year. And I did send an email to Stellenbosch last month saying, hey, if you guys need any help with virtual education, let me know. So I'm probably shooting myself in the foot by saying that, by putting Wits above the other two, but very much choose, I would actually say, try study in a place that's more comfortable to you. So if your family and your support group is in Cape Town, study in Cape Town. Or if your family's crazy and chaotic and there's a lot going on there and you need to get out, then yeah. So I would base it more on your location and other factors, but the quality of education at Wits, UCT, and Stellenbosch, they're all brilliant. They're all up there. They're all world class when it comes to actuarial science. So it very much depends on those other factors. Hi MJ, I want to start my research work in the insurance sector. Please guide me from where should I start? I mean, the hard part about research with the insurance sector is data is very valuable with insurance companies. In fact, it's almost like guarded. Data is a very, very powerful commodity. And if you're doing a research project, I mean, the good research projects are around data. So what you need to do, and some of my friends were able to do this, is you have to go to an insurer and ask them very nicely, can I borrow your data or can I use some of your data for this project? So you need to establish a little bit of a working relationship with an insurer, and you want to maybe, try and get data from them. It's very rarely that you're going to be able to go onto the internet and just find some insurance data that you can use. So I would actually maybe approach some of the big reinsurers and see if you're researching, they might have a policy that allows for it. So that could be quite a nice place to start. So look at the reinsurers, and you'll know it's a reinsurer because it's literally in the name. Swiss Re, Munich Re, Hanover Re, basically anything that ends with Re is a reinsurer. So go check them out. Hi MJ, I have started preparing for the ST9 exam, ERM, and I'm overwhelmed by the amount of material to get through. How did you approach preparing for the exam? So I was a little bit naughty for ST9. Probably shouldn't be saying this. I was a little bit naughty because I was studying for that subject and the fellowship in finance at the exact same time. Don't recommend doing that. Do one exam at a time. So when it came to ERM or subject ST9, I spotted, which is you mustn't do that. This is bad advice. I spotted, so I said to myself, you know what are the main, what's the core of the subject? And I kind of found that by reading that James Lum Enterprise Risk Management textbook, that gave me a really, really good understanding. And then I just went through the flashcards of ERM. And fortunately for me, because I had done also the financial specialist exam and there was quite a lot of overlap, and in my exam there was a huge question on market risk, and I was just like, thank you. I was able to pass ERM first time. Having said that, I've just finished now. How many videos did I create? I created 41 exam videos, so that's 500 marks of past paper exams. and 26 chapter videos that are around half an hour each. So I've just made a lot of content for ERMs. In fact, it's been my day job for 2020 has been creating this content for the Actuarial Society of South Africa's Academy. So if you're part of ASA, I highly recommend signing up for that. You'll also get 7 weeks of Zoom calls with me. So anyone in ASA and you're doing ERM, you got to sign up for this course, because I don't want to say you're guaranteed to pass. You're very likely to pass if you get that. But yeah, that subject, it's difficult because there's the hard side and there's the soft side. And I call the soft side the operational risk, and the policies and procedures you put in place, and the risk appetite, your risk profile, the risk culture, those fun things. And then you've got the hard side, which is like the GOC models, and you've got extreme value theory, and you've got copulas. I remember the first time I looked at copulas, I was like, what is this? And they really, really are hectic. But I do have some courses on Udemy around copulas, which I hope explains it well. I don't have any on extreme value theory. But the trick to understanding extreme value theory is to go back to the central limit theory. Redo the central limit theory, understand the philosophy behind it, then come to extreme risk theory, and you'll see that it's the same philosophy, except they're focusing on a different statistic, and it's actually quite beautiful how those two things come together. But yes, it's a lot. ERM, it's a big exam. It really, really is a big exam. So you want to make sure that you prep well in advance for it. Let's just check some more questions. Gosh, have I been doing this for almost an hour now? How are actuaries different from data scientists? I mean, this is something that pops up quite a bit in the comment section, and one person actually said it better than me. They said, you know what, I started studying data science, this is what they said, and they said it felt like I was in the middle of a jungle just hacking at weeds, because the thing about data science is like, okay, you study data science, now what you're going to do? Whereas actuarial science, it's a lot more focused. It's on finance. It's on, this is what we want to do. So don't see data science as a profession. It's not a profession. It's a toolkit, a very, very powerful toolkit that can do amazing things. And actuaries can use data science to do their job better. So it's not about, you don't just become a data scientist. And then it's kind of like, okay, basically you're a statistician then who knows how to use a computer. But what does a statistician do? They need to be hired for a project, either psychology, biology. There's all these other fields that you can go into. So actuarial science has got a lot more of a dedicated path. It's a profession, whereas, like I say, data science is a toolkit. Having said that, you will find some data scientists will get paid more than actuaries if they are very, very good at what they do. But if you had to say, look at the bottom half of actuaries are doing way better than the bottom half of data scientists. So yeah, I definitely put actuarial science above data science from a career point of view, because I do see data science, it's a toolkit. What are your thoughts on majoring in computer science and actuarial science and stats? I mean, computer science, it's powerful. It really, really is powerful. And like we were talking about earlier, about people telling the computers what to do or the machines what to do rather than being told by them what to do. Computer science, it is powerful, and it's something that I would encourage the actuaries out there to also get exposure to. But if you're doing computer science, then you're more going in towards developing software and infrastructure and those kind of things. So I don't think you need to formally study computer science and actuarial science. Although, having said that, there is this new and emerging position, which I think is going to be very valuable, if not now, definitely in the future, is a systems actuary. Someone who understands computer science and how machines work, as well as actuarial science, and they can build insurance platforms, better modeling platforms, build better apps when it comes to submitting claims and doing the underwriting process and all these other things. So yes, there definitely is value in joining those two things together. But you need to be smart there, because that's a lot of workload. It's a lot of different things coming together. So if you can do it, great, but much better from an actuarial point of view, get your fellowship, become an actuary, and then maybe look at studying that stuff on the side, rather than trying to do both of those things at university. Like I say, the workload might be a little bit too much. But guys, having said that, we are coming up to an hour of doing this. I definitely want to say thank you so much to the person right in the beginning who sent me $1 on Super Chat. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for the 28 likes. And I see at one stage we even hit 80 people. There were 80 people watching live at one stage, but we've kind of been averaging between 60 and 70. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for being part of this. What I definitely want to do maybe a little bit better next time is maybe do it on the computer rather than my phone, just so I can see all the questions, because there were a lot of questions that I didn't actually get to. So I'm either going to try to reply to you guys separately, or I'll make another video, maybe not live, and try and answer those as well. But let me sign off, guys, because it's now 10 o'clock here in South Africa. So it's my bedtime in 30 minutes, and I always like to listen to a little bit of an audiobook. Just helps me unwind. So I'm going to say goodnight, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Cheers, everyone.